NBA fans, welcome back to the second match of the day. We are here to see the Southern Exposure take on the Tennessee Tyrants. Matt, I'm pretty excited for this one. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. This should be a great matchup of physicality and scrappiness in this second match of the day.
One of those things I'm looking for, and I think that we haven't seen Southern Exposure quite find their stride this tournament, but they have had so many glimpses of glory that, you know, I'm really hoping today that we're going to see them put it all together. But I think you and I have really been enjoying the Tyrants games because of the hustle. This is team never say die, and right now we're about to see a huge difference in a way to play the game. Physical team versus the guys that are insistent on going point for point, and nothing easy will come of it.
Yeah, they're called the Tennessee Tyrants, but I've been calling them the Tennessee Scrappers because they do not let the ball hit the ground without 2, 3, sometimes 4 guys making a dive or a move for it. They're not afraid to come out and swing high and hard at these big blockers that are 6'8", 6'9". And Southern Exposure has got some dudes that are about 6'10". So we're going to see very interesting strategies here employed by both squads. And I'm excited to see what Southern Exposure can do and hopefully see them kind of step up their level from what we saw from them yesterday, which was a little bit flat. But the Tyrants are they're gonna cause some problems for these big boys, so it's good to see.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a little more insight. Olivia, take it away.
Thanks, Nick. Coach, just a single set one for your squad so far. You're looking to change that today. What's gonna be the answer?
My only answer is gonna be the power of the mustache.
What's the power of the mustache, Coach?
You'll see.
Okay. Nick, it's gonna look like we're gonna need some ISOs on the players on the bench over there.
Well, we're definitely gonna look forward to that, and you know, I think I can see it right here. Going to be eyes on number 9, number 12. We got some good-looking stashes out there on the court. So, you know, I think they're all about looking good while they play, and definitely respect that here. As far as what the fans can expect from a look from the team, the Tyrants are a very defensive and pin-oriented team. They don't have a lot of offense that comes out of the middle unless it's from number 18, Thomas Burrell. But what they do have is very disciplined blockers. Those middles make sure they're extending rallies, finding digs, and allowing their libero, number 5, that's Ryan Alou, to get really involved. They find a lot of success, and when they're throwing balls like that to the outside, it's a good-looking team.
Yeah, the Tyrants are a little bit of a smaller package team, right? We saw yesterday morning 2 players on their squad, Jake and the other outside hitter, both score, and Ian Cap, both score 22 points respectively in I believe a 4-game set or 4-set match. So look for those 2 guys to be huge contributors here, and they better not be afraid to swing against these big guys. And if they do get blocked back pretty hard, they're gonna keep swinging hard. Like, don't slow down what you're doing. Rely on what got you to where you are. Swinging hard, keep serving hard. They're one of the better serving squads we've seen from the inline. Very aggressive from the inline, and they're going to need that to keep this big team out of system, because if they can get them off the net, that's advantage to the Tyrants.
Sure, and if I'm Southern Exposure right now and I want to find a way that we're going to win this match, though, we did see in the match yesterday when Tyrants lost, they had, I think, between 22 and 24 missed serves. So they are a ride or die on that serve line, and it wasn't quite working out for them yesterday. So
we did see, though, Ian Cap score 9 aces in one match, so for an NVA record. So they do have maybe some flashes of brilliance, a little bit hot and cold. But again, they're going to need it today to, pull out this victory.
Absolutely, and what we're going to see from Southern Exposure is a variety of weapons and how they find their success. We've seen Kevin Voss be a real weapon for them in the middle. We've seen Denmark, number 4, on the outside be a constant rock that team can rely on. And we've also seen a powerhouse experience yesterday in their second match from number 20, their right side. That's Joe Norman. They've got a variety of guys that they've been kind of cycling through on that right side. The first match of the day yesterday, the first match of the tournament for them, Joe was not quite finding his way, so they made some subs, but he has definitely found his stride, and when he was playing his top level, he was unstoppable.
Yeah, so like Olivia pointed out, they only won 1 set yesterday, so they're struggling to find their identity a little bit. Again, the physicality, the athleticism, the size of Southern Exposure is going to be physically intimidating for the Tyrants, but what Southern Exposure needs to do is be able to find a way to play together, complement one another, celebrate their success, create some momentum moving forward, and don't worry about what the Tyrants do. They're going to extend rallies, they're going to make some plays, and as long as Southern Exposure matches that and doesn't expect to play one contact volleyball or one rally volleyball, then they should be able to control this match. But don't underscore and not take into account the hustle of the Tyrants.
Absolutely, and I think the way that if you're Southern Exposure, the way you're going to win this match is sheer physicality. They've got a 6'5" setter. He likes to get aggressive. He will absolutely go after a tight ball. They've got some big middle presence, and you want to see a lot of play on the net there if you're the Southern Exposure guys, because the sheer size that they have is going to give them a healthy advantage.
Right, so outside hitters and opposites for the Tyrants. Can we talk about them really fast?
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're going to be relied on very heavily. The middle blockers offensively for the Tyrants, maybe not the biggest producers in point scoring. Good blockers, and they do come up with some timely block defense points. Offensively, I don't expect to see much from them in terms of point contribution from an offensive side.
Sure.
But let's talk about their opposites, for example. Okay, you've got Peter and you've got Eddie playing opposite for the Tyrants. They've both contributed throughout their matches yesterday. Eddie maybe a little bit more so than Peter, but look for both of those guys to complement one another. If somebody's not really carrying the load, they can go to the bench and they can swap and give it a different look and hopefully kind of change up the momentum a little bit that way.
Absolutely, and they've also given some different looks from the setters there. They've been starting most of the tournament with number 1, Ryan Kenny, and he delivers a very, very fluid offense, but last night in their 5-set nail biter, we did see Mitch Whiskerton at the helm, and Mitch was unfortunately having to set with their worst passing match we've seen from the Tyrants, but Mitch was definitely a leader on the court, finding ways to get guys involved, and he's a guy to watch too, so I don't know exactly who we're going to see here. I would expect that we'll probably see Kenny, but Mitch is definitely a great guy to have on that team. He's also a leader when he's on the bench and knows how to keep his guys fired up.
I'd expect to see a better passing match from the Tyrants too as well. Southern Exposure had a lot of service errors yesterday in the match that we watched from them. They really struggled to find that rhythm from the inline. And the Tyrants with their libero as kind of the backcourt general, he should be able to pass and play some great defense to keep them in system. Last night they did struggle a little bit with their passing. It was slightly too tight, giving Mitch some trouble trying to jump up and reach and set the pass that was almost on top of the tape. So if they can adjust their passing and bring it off another ball or two, that's going to help them for sure regardless of who's setting. But yeah, hopefully they do have a good consistent pass game and get maybe let off the hook a little bit from Southern Exposure serving. Maybe struggles. Hopefully they can address that and move forward. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
If I'm Southern Exposure, though, I want to keep my offense spread wide. There's a smaller block here that right now, as long as the middles are not able to double commit on a lot of these swings, you're going to find a lot of success with the Southern Exposure offense, I think, and especially with just the sheer size. If you see these guys stand next to each other, there is an 8-inch difference in almost every position, it looks like. But there's a lot of sound blocking from Southern Exposure, so we're going to see a lot of pressure on the setter. That's going to be number 19, Will Cornell, to spread his guys out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the block and defense strategies from Southern Exposure for sure. I mean, going against some smaller hitters, the blockers may start this match off. I kind of expect them going up too high, right? Trying to be too big and make too big of a move where the hitters might be able to go under them, right? So if I'm the coach for Southern Exposure, I'm telling my blockers, don't go high. Make sure you get low and tight and over the net and close off those angles so that the smaller blockers don't have, the smaller hitters in Cap and Jake don't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
Right? Take away the seams and then line up your defenders strategically behind the block so that they can see the hitter.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
And let the ball get funneled to them.
Absolutely, and I think one thing we've seen for a lot of these teams is people are still, I would like to see a lot more teams across, not just this match, but giving up more line. Make hitters prove that they can hit line. Right now, we're seeing guys that can crush a ball into the angle in that high seam. Take that away from them and make them earn their points down the line. A little more side information here, though, from Olivia. What do you got for us?
Thanks, Nick. Coach, I know you're coming off the court. Thanks for stepping over here. Jake Milnazik, a little uncharacteristically quiet in that second match yesterday. How do you get him involved early in the offense in this one?
I think he's got to get going receiving the ball. The first touch, when he has a good first touch match, his attacking is better. It's weird. So if we can get him to pass a couple balls, if they go at him and target him early, I think that's going to help him. Don't tell them that. And I think that'll really help his attacking for sure.
Who can we expect to see setting your offense today?
So we're going to have Ryan Kenny to start off here, but him and Mitch they cancel each other out. They're both so good. At any time, we could just jump into a 6-2, and I feel really good about that.
Thanks, Coach.
No problem.
Nick, back to you.
Thanks so much. There you go. He's dropping the little bomb that we might see a 6-2, and we've seen a couple teams here that just are so deep that are willing to go to that, and so definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, a couple pearls from Coach there. It's always nice to get his insights as well, and you're totally right, Nick. Yeah, these teams are very deep in every position. I mean, this is the 5th match for both of these squads, and every single one of the players from both teams has gotten time on the court throughout this tournament. So something we've talked about throughout the weekend, player management, number of minutes, number of points played. Obviously, want to make sure the legs are fresh. We're in the single elimination bracket now, so it's win or go home. So
yeah,
find your time, find your energy, get loose, get ready to go, come out of the gates hard, and how deep do you want to go, basically, is the question to be asked.
Yeah, and just a little recap for anyone that's just tuning in. We just had LA Blaze take on, that was Team Freedom there, and that was Team Freedom winning that set. So that's going to lead them, they're going to be now playing the Ontario Matadors after this match. The winner of this match is going to be playing Las Vegas Ramblers tonight at 7 o'clock. So it really is, like you said, it's a win or go home. So there's not a lot of time left for roster management. It's do or die.
Yeah, it's now's not the time to tell me that your shoulder hurts or your legs are a little tired. You got to find it. You're a professional. You should be taking care of your body the right way. You should be hydrated, and you should be ready to go. There's no warm-up now. The warm-ups are over. This is game time. There's a scoreboard. There's referees. There's whistles.
And a lot of fans at home.
Worldwide, live streaming. Here we go.
What we're going to see from the Tyrants in terms of a lineup is exactly what we'd expect to see. So we're going to see Ian Cap, and that's going to be Jake Milnazik on the outside. And then looks like they're going to start with Eddie Kiesecker on the right side. That's going to be number 5 wearing the different colored jersey. And Ryan Alou, hands are going to be going with Ryan Kenny. And we're going to see Thomas Burrell, the offensive middle for the Tyrants, starting it off. I didn't get a chance to see who their second middle is here. But they've got about 4 middles that all have very different looks, and that'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. On the side of Southern Exposure, we're going to see Kevin Voss starting up front in the middle. That's going to be Caleb Denmark on the outside. Right side is going to be Joe Norman for them. The libero is going to be number 3 here. That's John Kaluger, who we've seen all weekend. Their second outside is going to be number 14. That's Jacob Ciesla. And on the back line serving it up for him is going to be Will Cornell. I didn't get a chance once again to see the second middles, but I'm assuming that's probably going to be number 16. Who is it?
I think it was Voss.
Voss?
Oh,
no, Voss is in.
Sorry,
I think it's going to be Payne Langston, if I'm not mistaken here.
Yep.
We're going to see Will Cornell on the back line to start it off. Will was having some, I would say, serving selection issues yesterday. He was going to a float serve that I don't think he was picking the right people, and it was a little easy, but ball goes down on Jake, goes backside, and Eddie Kiesecker to start it off, and that ball goes long. Not going to find a touch there.
Interesting choice out of the gate to set your back row hitter on the first play of the match. I like to try to keep my front row hitters involved early on, a little bit higher percentages that way.
Good set from Milnazik, and they hang it over the side. Joe Norman and Kevin Voss are a huge right side block, and Jake not quite able to find a finger there.
Let's talk about the front line for Southern Exposure right now. Number 4 is about 6'6", Kevin Voss 6'8", number 20 Joe Norman 6'10".
Yeah, and there's that physicality we're talking about. Southern Exposure, if you get into long rallies, they're going to be having a harder time. But if you get quick points going tight on the net, they're physical guys.
Let's give some credit to Cornell for making his serves, giving his block and defense a chance to score points, which is what they've just done in the last 2 plays.
Absolutely, and he's hitting that nice down the line. Jake's kind of had a lot of pressure put on him early. Eddie Kiesecker gets a touch there from Cecil in the back row, and that's going to be the first point of the match going over to the Tyrants.
Yeah, so we've seen 2 sets to the back row. They started in rotation 6, so that the setter was in the front row. 2 back row sets, 1 front row set so far, and now the setter goes back to the back row to serve.
That's going to put a high ball in the middle of the court for Cecil. Norman steps in, takes a high rip into the corner. It's going to be tracked down by Jake Milnazik. Hits the ceiling. They're looking for a third touch. Burrell reads that. We're going to the middle of the court. Vaz swings deep, goes over Burrell there, and not quite able to keep that one together.
It worked. It worked. It wasn't pretty for Voss.
Right.
He was a little bit early, kind of hung up in the air. You know, fortunately, he's a big guy. He's got good hops, so he was able to get some power on that ball and got it down for a kill.
It's going to be Denmark on the back line. Goes for a big swing. Gets handled well by the Tyrants. They're going to go to the backside. Jake looks for a big swing. Chisels off the outside, Doug, and Cornell's going to go outside. Cecil gets a little squeaker over the net and punched out of bounds there by Jake. Burrell tries to track it down, but no luck.
I like to see that from Cecil. His first swing of the match.
Yeah.
He goes for a hit, an aggressive swing. Yesterday it was tipping a lot.
Yep.
And he was a little more tentative, so maybe that was part of the strategy to kind of save the shoulder for today.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing a lot more of that aggression. And again, honestly, right now, when you're on the front foot, you have a lot of energy forward. On your second serve, I'm not upset to see Caleb Denmark miss that one. Ideally, he misses it long over the net, so there's at least a chance for a touch or something like that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Nick. That's not a terrible miss, but again, let's
give him a chance.
Yeah, give him a chance.
That's going to be a ball in the middle of the court and going to go backside. And Joe Norman swings deep, does not quite make a connection, hits that high on his fingers. And
Joe just kind of overran that one a little bit. I think that set could have been a little bit tighter for what Joe's looking for. I mean, he's 6'10". Like, give him a chance to go up and hit the ball at the top of the antenna, because there's nobody on the Tyrants that'll be able to block that ball.
Absolutely not. And what we saw yesterday, the set Joe Norman wants, whether he's front row or back row, high, get it on his right arm, don't make him come back into the court, and he's going to see a huge success. Vaz, once again, that mismatch in the middle, that's something to be abused.
And the Southern Exposure just have so many weapons on offense. When that pass is up to the net and Cornell has his options of who he wants to set, it's going to be really hard for the Tyrants to stop. And when the BIC gets developed for Southern Exposure too, you've got 4 hitters coming down at you the whole time. It's going to be really
impressive.
Tough. Yeah.
It's a big serve by Voss. He's had a pretty rough serving tournament. That one was a good rip, barely missed that long.
That's an aggressive serve. He barely missed it. I mean, that's a full green light on your first serve. I mean, I can't argue with it, but I still would like to see you put one in at about 85% and then go for your next one.
Yeah, so we're going to see Burrell on the back line. That's going to bring Matt Buffum. Matt Buffum has been a guy that's been an absolute role player for this team. It's a good triple block that's going to be tight to the net, though. And asking you shall receive. Matt Buffum comes off the bench with a ton of energy. This guy plays some really solid blocking defense front row, but he absolutely has a wide range of shots. He's got the cutback and the wrist away.
Yeah.
But he extends a lot of plays on the back line, too, and he goes back to serve. He's a serving specialist for them sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Good call by you, Nick.
Big swing into the corner, good adjustment by Dan. That's going to go high side to Eddie Kiesecker. He roll shots it in the middle, picked up by Kaluga. Set from Cornell to the outside, going to be dug here by Burrell in the back row. Set goes to the middle, and that's once again Matt Buffum going to the 31 and just hammers that through a double block.
I like that they're giving Buffum some sets here as soon as he came in. You see the fire that everyone gets when Buffum gets a point.
Yep.
I think he's a big factor for this team in order to get them some confidence.
He's also one of their biggest guys, so getting him involved early is going to help kind of mismatch that size discrepancy. There we see Ian Kapp trying to match the size of Norman, and there's about a 6 or 7 inch difference there. Norman goes down the line, attacks Burrell in the back row.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to hear, what the blocking strategies are for the Tyrants, since these players from Southern Exposure are so much bigger. You don't have to make this huge blocking move. Just be technically sound, get a nice reach, try to get a deflection.
Yep.
And then let your defense get the ball back up for you.
Honestly, I think that's the right move. If you've got your libero back row instead of a middle, that might be a dug ball. And Norman lets it.
That's 2 serves in a row that we've missed from Southern Exposure. That one's a little tentative. That's a tentative miss.
Yeah.
That's not a green light miss like we saw from Voss. But I'd like to see something a little bit stronger from that one.
Yeah, we've seen Norman kind of be hot and cold. We also saw him on a 4-serve ace run, I think, yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Kieseker with a nice serve that gets put high ball, and we're going to see Cecil on the outside with the swing deep, not able to find any touch there.
Yeah, well, Cecil kind of painted himself into a corner on that one. Started off with a bad pass, way off the net. Cornell had no other options, and Cecil needs to bail himself out, not just swing to avoid the block.
Yeah, and I think that the real burden of pressure here is on the Tyrants on the serving line. As long as they can keep Southern Exposure out of system and start isolating, keeping those middles uninvolved in the offense, they're really going to have a lot more success. But, you know, if they're not serving tough and you get all 3 options going, that's going to be a lot harder.
So what do you think Tyrants are talking about here during this first TV timeout? I
think we're right now, I think you're identifying your 2-3 green light servers. Whoever's feeling it, you make sure they're going after it, and then I'm giving my other 2 or 3 guys targets that they're going to hit so that we're able to direct the offense coming back at us, and just telling your guys, like, hey, they're going to score big. We're not going to try to fight that same game. We're going to be chiseling and we're scrapping, but that's okay. Yeah,
I like the fire over there. Good energy. I think the coach is talking maybe about defensive placements, making sure our guys are in a good spot. They're going to see some attacks come from different angles from these bigger hitters, right? Just be disciplined, be set, holding on defense, and then react to where the ball is. See what you can come up with and keep the ball alive. Because they're the scrappers. We call them the scrappers for a reason, right? So.
But on the side of Southern Exposure, I do think pretty consistently when they've got the high ball that goes out to the net, Will Cornell is a very physical setter. He'd rather play tight and on the net. When he's got to really move and get to the back row there, we saw him 18 feet into the court handling that first ball right there. That's where we don't quite get the accuracy we want to see. But for a little more insight, Olivia, what did you hear during the timeout?
A couple things that Coach Corey Marks wants to see over on that side. He said the Tyrants' middle transition is really doing well for them, so he wants to see his middles more active. And when it comes to serves, we've seen them commit quite a few errors already. They all had the green light coming into this one, so he said you don't have the green light anymore. If the person before you misses, you better get it in.
Well, hey, there we heard it. I mean, Matt, you identified early on that, hey, there's 2 in a row. If we're seeing it here, glad to hear the coach down there sees it too. And pumping the brakes a little bit is not a bad thing. Let your guys use their size, make your blocking moves, just give them a chance to play.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, at this point, Eddie's going to go back and serve here. Southern Exposure does need to find some kind of rhythm, and it starts with the pass, okay? I think clearly everyone in the gym knows that Cecil is probably the service target here, and they're going to try to expose that weak link, and he needs to hold his weight. So.
Yeah, and we mentioned it a little bit in that last match, how Blaze was kind of trying to go for that 2-man serve receive, and you'll see something very similar here. There's a lot of confidence between Kaluger and Denmark that they're going to take 75–80% of that back line, and Denmark was almost standing on top of Cecil in serve receive there because they really want to make sure they've got the pass they want. Cecil on the back line, though, serves in. Good pass by Cap, goes back to the middle, and that's going to be punched around a couple times. But once again, Matt Buffum putting up his 3rd point of the set.
Yeah, Buffum coming in, making a name for himself, streaking him across the net. It's nice to see that that's a viable middle attack option for the Tyrants because they're going to need him throughout the entire match as one of their larger physical statured players on that team.
Yep. And we're going to see Cap coming back. Excited to see how he's able to open the match up with a big serve. There it goes. Denmark overpasses. That's going to be Buffum faking it out. Little double pump, and Buffum fakes the overpass swing. Sets his setter, who fakes the overpass on 2 and goes right back to Buffum. Buffum puts up his 4th point.
I like the ad-lib action right there with the back-to-back jump sets.
Oh, yeah.
Because it worked. It got both of the Southern Exposure blockers to hop a little bit.
Out of sorts. Yeah. They find their way. That's going to be a 2-point lead here for the Tyrants as Cap goes back for serve number 2. Big swing into the corner, handled well by Cecil, puts it high in the middle of the court. Norman out of the backside. Big touch, and the Tyrants lose track of that one. That's as good a touch as you're going to hope for, I think.
Yeah, they got to keep their eyes open on that block. I know it's hard as a former blocker myself to keep your eyes open and watch this guy unload on a ball that could clearly crush your forehead.
Yeah.
But when it hits the tape like that and kind of dances around, you got to be able to play that ball because that was a good chance.
Yeah, we've got a really big front row right now for Southern Exposure. And, you know, Will Cornell, even though he's a setter, he's one of the biggest setters here in the tournament for the NBA. And so him being front row to me is definitely no disadvantage. You go tight, he's going to jam a ball. We saw setter Chris Kahn on Blaze last match. He likes to kind of find some of those finesse. That's not Cornell's style. He will jam it down your throat.
Yeah, we like to see that. I mean, especially if you're a big physical setter like Cornell is. Again, I think the word of the day for Southern Exposure is physicality.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Unfortunately, they keep shooting themselves in the foot and missing their jump serves and not being able to capitalize on that clear advantage of their block size.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can make an adjustment and get these guys their serves in so that their block can have a chance to score some points.
Jake goes up, Milnazic chops down the line, and that's going to be hung up by Cisla. Free ball over the net by Denmark, handled by Eddie in the back row. That set goes outside, and Dan tries to swing with low seam. And, you know, we've seen Dan really challenge a lot of angle, but unfortunately, I think this is going to be one of the first teams they've played against. You are not going to be able to do that. He's got Joe Norman and Kevin Voss in front of him. That's a tough block to swing angle
Well,
against.
the adjustment that the Tyrants will have to make on their setting location is to maybe pull the ball off the net by about a ball or two width, right, for their outside hitters.
Sure.
So that they have additional angles to work the ball around the block.
That's a big block touch there by Burrell to slow Kevin Voss down, and he's able to tool the double block coming back. That's a point for the Tyrants. Burrell working for that one.
Starting to see a nice battle form between the middle blockers here on both teams. It looks like the Tyrants aren't afraid to run quick. Southern Exposure's got the size advantage, again, as we've been saying, in the middle blocker department. But, you know, a little bit of David versus Goliath, would you say?
Yeah, I would, and I was a little afraid to say it earlier, not to set the wrong picture, but now I'm all in with you on that one. We're seeing it come through in spades here. Will with the one-handed set to keep it alive. Denmark dug in the back row, and we're going to be seeing that ball kept alive. Free ball coming back from the Tyrants. Cecil passes the ball with his hands. Will goes backside, and Denmark tries to go, but Dan is able to get a big touch, keep it on the side, and that's going to be a swing by Eddie. Tries to go deep and sends that one long, gets the touch call, and that's going to go for the way of the Tyrants.
No argument from Southern Exposure, so that clearly the correct call by the guys in blue.
Yeah, we got a good communication there in the back row by Cap and Alu, trying to figure out how to read that ball off the ceiling, keeping it alive.
Yeah, they got a little extra time there as it kind of ricocheted up there.
Kevin Voss with a big swing, and Burrell comes through, reads the gap, gets a little help from his right side, and Eddie Kieseker, I think a little collision, and Kieseker looks a little out of breath. But that's a huge point timeout by the Southern Exposure here as a 3-point lead develops for the Tyrants.
I think Eddie was the recipient of a little bit of an over-exuberant celebration, perhaps. Caught an extra little high five to maybe something below the belt there. But that was a nice block, good double block on a 31 attack by Voss. And again, this is what we see, these big physical hitters trying to maybe make the glory play, hitting it too far straight down and right into the block of the smaller Tyrant team.
Absolutely, and you know, I think that Southern Exposure might have had the same scouting that we kind of talked about pre-match, and that's look at the pins, but Tyrants might have known that's what people think about them. We are seeing Buffum and Burrell absolutely carrying a load right now out of the middle. They're finding huge block touches, and they've contributed, I think, 5 points offensively between the two of them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the undersized middles, and I kind of laugh when I say undersized. I mean, they're probably 6'4" and 6'6". But when you're going up against 6'8" and 6'9" or something like that, you're the undersized guy, unfortunately. But speed versus height could be a play and a factor here.
Great pass there by Cisla. Now that set was handled well by Denmark, but I think Will Cornell needs to find his location a bit better. That was an 8-foot line set.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday too, watching Cornell with his overhead setting location. Tends to drift off the net a little bit, and the hitters are having to adjust their approach by not overrunning the ball and hitting it behind their head, right? So it could be a good discussion for them to have.
That's an ace right there, and Denmark has been an absolute rock for this team when they've had some ups and downs. He's been their guy to try and, you know, build a platform off of, and right there we're going a cross-court ace in front of Dan there. That's a good look.
Yeah, Denmark has been relatively consistent for the Southern Exposure.
And we've had a couple play-by-play curses here today already. I think that's going to be number 3. Right as we say, a little missed contact, floats the ball into the back of Voz's head. And Voz says, hey, thanks, man, appreciate it. I'm awake up here, though.
Yeah. Here's Jake now. We need to see a nice run. One thing I want to talk about is that the Tyrants didn't play on that side of the court yesterday. And so from jump serving on that side versus the jump serving on the side that Southern Exposure is on, may have an impact just because of the space that there's allowed to, you know, jump serve and their approach. Now that we're not switching ends of the court like we normally do, it could be something to look at in terms of jump serving impact.
Yeah, definitely a case here. And there's Vaz's second missed serve, missed long. First one, second one in the net.
I mean, I'm getting frustrated sitting here. I'm not on the coaching staff, but he's hitting the ball literally as hard as he can. And both times it's gone blasted directly into the net.
Yeah, and this has been not a day-by-day or game-by-game. This has been all tournament-long thing we're seeing here. Ciesla with this good pass, and they go back to Norman, and that's Norman's swing. He goes into that deep corner. He's able to stay behind the ball, still a little far off the net, but he was able to read a good adjustment.
I think the key to that set was the height. I mean, Joe Norman's 6'10". He can hit the ball at the 11-foot mark at the top of the antenna. Whether or not it's on the tape or off, it's okay, right? He can make the adjustment, but let's keep working to get him a little bit closer, but he has the range to do that stuff. So yeah, it's a good swing.
Now, one thing you'll see, Ian Cap, he's undersized compared to Norman, and we're going to be, I'll follow up with this in a moment, but that's a big swing from Eddie Kiesecker, and that's a big double block there from Ciesla, as well as number 16 there. Payne Langston closes that block nicely for the double.
Yeah, nice technically sound move, double block move to their left on Eddie as the overhead opposite player. Closed the seam, took away the angle, and Langston gets that block.
Yep. But one thing I was saying is we're seeing a lot of swing blocking from Ian Cap, and I think he needs to maybe slow that down and make sure that he finds his right spot so he's not getting used on the way up. Any block touch he can get is a good one as long as it's just funneled into the court. So we'll see if he can make that adjustment. But there's another cannon into the bottom of the net. And this is kind of that flow, like the system thing we were talking about. Southern Exposure can have all the brute strength up front they want, but if they can't find a ball in the court from the back line, they're going to be giving away 6, 7, 8 points a game, and that's just not going to work for them.
Yeah, I mean, you have to put a premium on making your serves. Give your blocking defense a chance to score real points that way.
There it is, though. That's a great pass by Denmark. Cornell finds one of the best setting connections we've seen between him and Langston all tournament. They've had a little bit of trouble on that 31, finding each other. Langston up early and just unloads onto that ball into the back right of the court.
It's nice to see that connection coming online right now, considering we're in the playoff section of this tournament. Langston's going to be relied on for that.
And we see a serving sub come in. That's going to be Tyler Hubbard, I believe. And yeah, Tyler Hubbard has been an absolute role player. In the first day when they were looking at some options, trying to find some wins, Hubbard was coming off the bench as an outside hitter, playing very well. And now here we are on day 3. Hubbard has been coming in as a serving specialist. He's finding 2 to 3 serves in every run, getting some good defense and providing a back row attack as well. So there's going to be a little 1-point run for him. That's a good run. And Tyrants are able to answer back, though, with a great back row attack.
Yeah, and then he stays in the court and passes through the back row. So you can see the adjustment there. And he's going to take up a nice amount of space, too, in place of Ciesla.
We might see that I would not be surprised at any point if he actually stays in for Ciesla. I think that's not going to be the case just yet, but will be an option the team might have. Cornell airs a ball out for Denmark, blasts the ball. That's dug and they're going to hit the ceiling. Once again, Tyrants got to locate that second ball.
Yeah, unfortunately, Buffum broke the cardinal rule of never take your eye off the ball. Yep. And he probably was the closest Tyrant to playing it as it hit one of the girders up there in the ceiling and bounced back down with a little bit more pace on it.
Yep. Payne Langston's going to be on the back line here for Exposure. And if I'm not mistaken, yesterday he had I called it the least powerful serve of the tournament, and I think he tried to just beat himself.
And now he has the least powerful serves of the tournament.
Barely hits the bottom of the tape there. Good pass by Hubbard. We're going to see a set to the outside. Denmark swings deep. That's dug by Kiesecker in the back row. Goes to the backside. That's going to be Ian Cap back there, right? So this is an interesting thing to pay attention to in a couple rotations from the back row. Eddie Kiesecker is traditionally, I believe, an outside hitter, and Ian Cap is anything but an outside. He's a setter, libero, and has played some opposite, so he will actually play back right, providing another set of hands in case their setter takes the first ball. Big set by Cornell goes to Vaz. Burrell gets a great touch, not going to go his way. Kevin Vaz finally using a little bit of side-to-side movement there and using Burrell for a point.
Yeah, good read by Burrell. Nice hand positioning. Just kind of, Vaz hit that ball at a little bit of a higher point and was able to ricochet it out of bounds.
Little shift on the Tyrants defense right as that ball goes up to be floated by Cornell. Burrell finds his swing. And we talked a little bit about this last set. The Blaze server sheet was doing this. Watch these players in the back row. When they're getting ready for a serve to come at them, they're moving the seam by taking steps left, right, forward, backward, and they're really changing the look that the server is going to look for here. Good pass by Denmark, set from Cornell facing the net, goes up, but that swing goes through the antenna by Denmark, not quite able. And there's that physicality we talk about with Cornell where, he gets a tight pass and he's going to go face the net and he'll find a quick set either to the backside or middle in a situation like that. But Denmark not quite able to control that swing.
Yeah, I'd like to see you keep it out front. You got Joe Norman and Voss outside in front of you, Cornell, and you're going to go back set again. And that was a better swing by Denmark, good adjustment, but you can see the inconsistency of Cornell's overhead setting to the right side.
It's kind of the only option his guys have is to roll into that corner. So if you're the Tyrants, identify that inconsistency, maybe shade to your right 2 steps if you're middle back defense so you've got a chance to step in there.
Yeah, I agree with you. As the overhead set gets pulled, drifts off the net, it takes away the line attack from the hitter.
Yeah.
So double up on that angle attempt and be able to get some scoops.
Denmark has a monstrous serve there for exposure. They need that break. Tyrants passing a perfect 3-ball off of it, but
Kevin Voss did a straight commit right there on Burrell, and he was waiting for him to hit that ball directly into his hands.
We're going to see if we can see a second serve out of Denmark here. Great toss. He knows how to chase it, but that one's going to go just long. Now, for some of the younger guys at home or girls, when you say he's committing on him, what does that mean as a blocker?
So it's a blocking scheme. Middle blockers will kind of tend to play some games, and if they think they have a good read on what the setter's going to do, depending on the rotation, a commit block means that I am going to go max jump on their middle hitter with the assumption that he's going to get set, and I'm going to be there waiting for him to block him.
So you're basically giving up a pin block move to make sure that in case they go to that guy, you're there to stop him.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. That's some great insight and something for players to watch. And I think we saw something similar just now from Burrell. He knew that Voss was such an offensive threat. He has to be there to stop that potential attack, and he's successful. That's a great block back for Burrell.
Yeah, Burrell with a good read, maybe a commit in transition because they had been setting Voss a little bit more and kind of getting him going. But the undersized Burrell says, you block me, I block you. We've got set point. You can call a timeout and go talk about what you're going to do next.
And I kind of want to bring back the critique you had earlier. Kevin Voss has 6-7 inches of point of contact, maybe 1.5 feet where Burrell's going to be touching. You need to get that set high enough, let him swing deep into the corner. Burrell's got 2 or 3 terminal blocks and a couple block touches. That really shouldn't be happening in this match, in my opinion.
Yeah, if I'm Kevin Voss, I'm trying to maybe aim a little bit deeper, aim for the back end of the court, the corners, not try to hit it, the 10-foot line. That's going to give the advantage back to me and be able to hit over these maybe shorter blockers of the Tyrants.
Yeah, they're definitely, Burrell's shown he's here to be physical, so props to him.
This is what we saw yesterday, too, with the Tyrants, the scrappers. They might not be physically intimidating. They're the undersized, maybe a little bad news Bears-ish.
Yep.
And here they are. They've got set point, and their guy, Jake, is getting ready to do a little jump float hybrid action.
Milnazik down the line. Denmark handles with his hands back set to Norman. Norman's their go-to. That's a one-handed dig by the libero, huge. And they're going to run some offense out of this. That's a chop down the line by Cap. Doug Cornell goes to the back of the big side. Denmark swings and finishes the point for Southern Exposure. That was all started by a huge one-handed dig by Ryan Alou there in the backside for the Tyrants.
Yeah, great run down by Alou. He almost took out the benches, but his team got out of the way with a one-handed stab, brought it back, gave his team a chance. But a nice big in transition to from Denmark and Southern Exposure.
So we're going to see a serving sub here come in for Voss, and that's going to be, I believe, if I saw correctly, number 13. I think that's Nathan Kamnitz there. Yep, I believe that's who it's going to be. But we're seeing a Tyrants timeout here.
Yeah, tough time to get thrown into the game as a serving sub. Let's make sure that we know our first priority is to make the serve. Yep. Second priority, let's determine who's going to get the set so we can get our right blockers in front of them. Blockers make a good, disciplined block over the net and take care of business on your block and defense side. Don't try to do anything outside of your realm. Just get low and over. The only thing I see now is that Hubbard's in the front row, and that's a little bit of a mismatch. So hopefully the Tyrants see that. I believe Eddie's in the front row, so the mismatch is going to be on the far side of the court with Hubbard blocking on Southern Exposure's left.
It's going to be a high ball to the outside. Pressure's on Cap. Cap finds a swing down the line, and that is good.
Hard to tell where that ball went between the two blockers.
Yeah,
it definitely didn't go over.
Nope.
But without an inline camera, it's kind of hard to tell exactly where that ball went. But there you go, first set to the scrappers. I mean, Tyrants.
Yeah. Freudian slip, I think not. Definitely a well-earned little name for these guys. Now, something I do want to talk while we're kind of between sets here. We have talked about the one of the most diverse things about the Tyrants is they've got 4 middles they have been using regularly. Now, we haven't seen number 8, Race Munger, start this match, and he started, I think, the majority, if not all of their matches so far, and that's where they've seen them go to buff them later on in the set if they're not getting the right look. Race has not been as effective offensively, but he is absolutely a massive 6'10" defensive blocker.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. He's 6'10". So defensively, he's going to be an advantage for the Tyrants. Offensively, he might be a little bit slower, and so maybe that's where they think the trade-off with Burrell and Buffum kind of make up that difference. And I like the choice that they've made, and those guys have produced so far.
Yeah, and it feels like a bit of an ace in the pocket. If at any point Burrell or Buffum aren't quite able to find those stops, you've got Race Munger in your pocket. That's a great sub you're happy to make. But right now, Burrell is playing out of his mind. Buffum's contributing some solid points. If you're the Tyrants coach, you're happy right now with the middle mismatch.
So what are you telling them?
I'm saying keep going, boys. We're aggressive. We're playing for those big touches. I want to see Cap be a bit more disciplined. I know he's trying to max jump for those big touches against Joe Norman. He got one to work for him there, but if you saw the state in which he got it, he was soft blocking off the net, flying by. It was kind of a lucky timing that he was able to get that touch. Front Joe Norman, get in front of him, let your middle close to you, leave your line open, let number 5, Ryan Alou, this all-star libero behind you, play the game, and then shift your middle back defender just a little bit, one step to the right, because Joe Norman hits 80% of his swings into that corner over there. And I think that's a great adjustment for the Tyrants to make here.
Okay, so for Southern Exposure, what do they need to do to change that outcome?
Southern Exposure, honestly, the only thing I'm changing is serving mentality. I like how they're passing the ball, relatively speaking. I think they're seeing a lot of effective swings from most of their hitters. I think Joe Norman is a little bit of unspoken for right now. That's something they can turn on, and that's going to be kind of airing those balls out. Denmark's showing to be quite effective on the backside still for them right now in those couple rotations that he's there, but the serving needs to improve. To lose a game by 2 points, that's you're letting the Tyrants off the hook.
Yeah, I don't know what the stats show on service errors, but I know for a fact Kevin Voss missed 2 serves.
Yeah.
And if he got one of those in,
yeah,
we might be saying something different in between this set and who won that first game.
I think offhand it was about 5 to 6 missed serves. And if you can cut that down even to 3 to 4, then there's that 2 points. And there was, we're getting right now, there was 10 service errors.
10 service errors from Southern Exposure in one set.
So you want to talk about handing a match away? You cut that in half, you give yourself a win by 3.
Yeah, that definitely needs to be addressed by the coaching staff.
Yep.
And there needs to be a much different mentality on their service pressure from the inline. Yeah,
I didn't want to be egregious and go too high there, but Olivia in our ear making sure we know, well, you are cutting that number in half, and that's 40% of the points in that game.
10 missed serves in one game to 25 is
inexcusable.
Unacceptable.
Yeah. We're getting it live here from the coach, Southern Exposure. He looks at us and says, I agree. We're going for underhands at this point.
And I would agree with that. Say, yes, until you can make a serve, you don't get to jump serve anymore.
Yep.
And if that means you have to underhand serve it, then by all means use it until you can show me that you can actually serve the ball over the net and into the court.
That big tan target over there, that's exactly what you're looking for. So I think Southern Exposure is more than capable of making that adjustment here, and I'm excited to see how Game 2 gets started. In terms of looking at these lineups, we're seeing that Hubbard is the starting option here on the outside instead of Cicela. But other than that, it looks like the same faces for both sides on the court.
Yeah, let's see if the Tyrants can carry that momentum and emotion into this set and see how Southern Exposure responds.
Great pass from Denmark. We see Cornell going face to the net once again. And just like we were talking about between games, Denmark is producing quite well on this right side for him.
Cornell is just an overhead heavy setter.
He really is.
I'd like to ask him why he likes to set overhead as much as he does when you have a 6'10" left side hitter playing and a 6'9" middle blocker. So I'd like to hear that from him.
We've got Denmark on the back line. He's going up for the big swing there and sends it long. Denmark, I think now has kind of passed that point of where he got an ace earlier on. He's now got 2, maybe 3 missed serves between the 2 games, and he's kind of crossing into that threshold.
I'm going to check with our stat guy and keep a running tally here of how many serves Southern Exposure, misses in this set and total for the match, since they're now at 11.
That's a bit of that. That's going to be a bailout there from the net on the Tyrants. Once again, we kind of talk about that location. Hubbard's on an aggressive approach as a smaller guy. He likes that fast tempo set to the outside so he can kind of beat that inside blocker from the middle, but that ball was off the net and he launches it long, so Tyrants kind of bail him out by netting there.
Yeah, I think Eddie would want that one back. He went too big and doesn't have to be so quite as aggressive with his block.
Kesker with a good controlled swing here, and Will's going to look for a questionable decision. Not sure who he was setting with that. Honestly, he is in a tough place, right? You're backpedaling out of the court. He's gonna have to launch a ball anywhere he sets it, but that set selection is not it.
I'm gonna interject and say that I didn't hear a single Southern Exposure player call for the set transition, as he was way over here almost by the bench.
Yeah, so it's easy to look at Will and say kind of what's going on there, but a pass like that, no one giving him communication. He's trying to spot that ball and find an option. And anyone that sets and knows what it's like to set off your back foot, that's a hard ball to book.
Second or thirdly, that ball has to go over the net.
Yeah.
You can't open hand tip it just into the net because it wasn't really your set.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Joe Norman take that with two hands, throw it into the deep corner, and make Tyrants make a move.
Yeah.
Norman on the back line here trying to center himself. He likes to take all 8 of his seconds. There's a big swing and maybe needed 2 more. Add another check mark to that list. We're going to see Buffum entering the match once again, and we want to see the Tyrants keeping Buffum involved in transition. He's shown that he can hit wrist away as well as power angle. There's a good serve by Buffum. Hubbard sprays it, and that's exactly what you want to see from Burrell back on the back line. He knows his target. Hubbard, the new outside, and honestly, not serving at Denmark or the libero is the play here.
So I'm just seeing Southern Exposure keeps compounding their errors. First one with the broken play, tips the ball into the net. Denmark misses his serve. Norman misses his serve. Hubbard with a shank. I mean, gotta
tie up those loose ends.
Stop the bleeding and right the ship.
Hubbard with a good pass on the setback there, but there's that little bit of a misconnection there. Low set kind of going over to middle blocker number 16, Payne Langston there, and there's a double block waiting for him on that 31.
Yeah, Langston's got for being the shorter middle on this team, he's got a good window. He's a good jumper, and Cornell's got to put the ball and deliver it to his window, and that was a little bit too low.
Burrell goes back for his 3rd serve in this rally. Denmark passes well. Cornell goes to the backside. That's Joe's serve, and we're going to see that's a good-looking block, though, from the Tyrants, but that's definitely the set Joe Norman's been waiting all match for. High outside on his right arm.
Nice back row attack by Joe. The set was in a good location. Well-formed block by the Tyrants. Maybe a touch too high as the ball ricocheted off them and went up, but back to the outside of the wrong side of the court.
Cap
down the line, and it's called out of bounds by the linesman.
Yep, so just long.
Just long. And I think there you see the outside hitters trying to avoid the block of Southern Exposure. So
Hubbard back, hits a float. Good pass by Jake, goes backside. Kieseker. Now we're seeing where there's a little bit of a lack of size from the outsides between Jake and Ian Cap. Eddie Kieseker has a bit more size to him, and we are seeing him absolutely not afraid to challenge that block. I love that swing high into him. Yeah,
the Tyrants are going to rely on him heavily because of his size.
Yeah.
He is a little bit of an equalizer. We saw it with Buffum in set number 1. He's fine. There's no foot fault there.
I can say, as a player on this court, there is some weird angles over on the side that the Southern Exposure is at, and it looks like there is a lot of foot faults that when you're over on this side of the court are clearly not.
Yeah, but you know what? There's a linesman standing right there.
100%.
Let him make the call. You don't need to have 8 guys on your bench begging for a foot fault if it didn't happen.
This is very, very true. Then again, if you're going to miss 3 serves in the first 6 points, then maybe that's where they're looking for that difference to be made up.
Stat guy says that's service error number 13 for Southern Exposure.
3 in this set alone. Cap on the back line. Cap's had a big active arm on the back line. We'll see if he can do something right now in this serve. There it is, handled well by Hubbard, goes to the backside, good set to Norman. Norman swings in, and now Cap's made that adjustment on defense. Goes for a big swing, D-ball, touched by Vaz. Upset by Kaluger, goes to the middle there. Vaz tips to the offside. That's dug by the libero, but kind of misses that pancake. Doesn't get the location on his hand that he wants.
Nice read by Alou over there. He came all the way across for a pancake, just a millisecond late.
Yep.
Nicely placed by Vaz. He did kind of show it pretty early, but good read by number 5 in orange.
Yep, and that's a big adjustment there by Cap. Like I said, going deeper into that court, finding a way to stop it and get a dig there from Norman. There's a big swing down the line, and that's what we want to see Jake doing. He's been a very active hitter all the way from the 4 to 4 all the way down the line. we've got a TV timeout coming in here.
Yeah, big swing by Jake down the line. You could see they gave him that line alley to hit. He took advantage of it. I think that's a good adjustment. But Cornell on defense needs to know what his blockers are going to do. They need to tell him, we're going to take angle, so be ready for this ball to come basically in your lap down the line on defense, and be ready for it and dig that ball up for us.
Yeah, and the big adjustment, when you're that back row defender, what you want to see is you want to see shoulders to the net, right foot on the line, so that if it hits you, you're deflecting the ball back into the court. He has already turned shoulders into the court, so when that ball hits him, it's hitting him on his right hip. There's no defensive move to be made there.
Yeah, so I think what we're seeing from Southern Exposure is a little bit of compounding errors like we talked about, but then when they get the opportunities that they're looking for, they're not really capitalizing on them.
Yeah.
Okay, so in that instance, we made our serve. Cornell made a serve. That was nice. But then he wasn't ready to play defense.
Yeah.
And his block didn't tell him that they were going to take angle. So, they need to figure out their communication, their scheming, their block and defense strategies, and take advantage of it and execute a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's kind of plagued this team all tournament long is we want to see teams create a flow, create a system and an identity in which they're going to play through. And right now, they feel like a team that has a lot of really big all-star hitters that can hit and hit with power. But until they kind of shore up a way in which they're going to feed that offense, whether it's good passing, healthy defense, whatever that look is, we need to see some consistency that's really going to unlock that. And that's what they've just not quite been able to do so far.
Yeah, and it's been an underlying tone for this team throughout the tournament.
Yeah.
They do need to find it relatively quickly, or else they're going to be packing their bags and they're going to be going home.
Yeah, and right now, if you look at the remaining teams in the tournament, you've got the Stingers, the Stunners, the Ramblers, and now this morning, the Matadors, and then we see Freedom moving on. Those teams all have very established methods that they're trying to play the game. And so right now, I would say the Tyrants from match one, they showed us, as the guys that we didn't know who they were, they showed us what we should expect from them. And Southern Exposure, that's been a bit of the miss, I think, here. So I want to see these guys still find each other on the court and give us something to know them by.
Yeah, I think, Southern Exposure obviously relies on their physicality, but I think that they're expecting that physicality to produce points for them. And that's not how volleyball's played.
Right.
You have to be technically sound. You have to have strategy. You have to execute. You have to make your serves. You have to give yourself chances to score real points. And it's not just about siding out at a super high percentage.
That's going to be a net on the Tyrants. That is, interestingly, if I'm not mistaken, the first X combination we have seen this tournament. They ran Denmark over the top of Vaz, and unless there was one that I missed in one of the evening matches yesterday, that's the first combo we've seen where the right side coming around the top.
Yeah, almost. This age and this day of volleyball, the speed of the game is so fast. It's rare to see an X play like that. That kind of worked, but he got bailed out by a net play.
Yeah, and so one of the reasons you'll see that at a younger age compared to the older age, younger players have less experience running that BIC effectively, and so you can create a similar effect with the middle and running a combo over the top. But at this high level, the BIC is so well established usually that players don't need to do it. This is a back set once again by Cornell, and again, that's a great swing. That's a much better set there going backside to Norman.
Yeah.
Again, dial in and look at what Tyrants is doing on the backside. We've seen Cap now shading into that corner. He's getting touches on almost every single ball Norman's hitting into that corner.
We saw Voss decide to stay down and float serve into the court, and unfortunately that ricochet can't get picked up by Cornell. But step in the right direction. Voss made his first serve of the match.
Yep.
After missing those first two in the earlier set. But yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, Nick. Cornell did give Joe Norman a better set overhead. It was a nice hit, but we're seeing touches from the Tyrants, and that's really how they operate. They need the ball up in the air, and they're not afraid to keep the rally going.
Huge dig there for the Tyrants. Go back outside, and Ian Cap swings back in the angle. And now I've got to say, as someone that's played on some of these teams, that you want to be that scrap player. What you're looking to do, especially in a best of five, is you want to wear these physical teams down. Because where they find success is when they get a big bounce, it amps up the energy. If you just take away, even when you don't get the point, but if you're getting touches back row, touches on the blocks, it removes a lot of that immediate gratification, and you're chiseling away at points. And right now, to see that adjustment by Dan right now, go on the back line and hit a float serve down the line, that's a morale breaker.
It is. It's a heartbreaker for sure, but we touched on it. David versus Goliath, a little bit of tortoise in the hare, little guys versus big guys.
Yep.
And right now the little guys are starting to run circles around the big guys.
Yeah, and we're seeing a sub come back in. Cecil coming in for Hubbard. I think that's more of a just look for something changed. And once again, going backside Norman. And he gets the kill once again, but Cap just making a move, getting a touch.
If I'm Joe Norman right now, I'm telling my guy to set me every single ball.
Yeah, you've got a huge mismatch.
Not that Southern Exposure's offense is struggling,
right?
But have a presence other than just being 6'10" on the court.
Yep.
Okay, we all know that you can hit the ball over 11 feet. You can hit it high. You can hit it hard. Have some emotional presence. Right now, Southern Exposure is missing an emotional leader on the court.
A little soul on the court.
Yeah,
might bring something together. There's a big serve from Norman. Love to see that. A little bit of a questionable set, but Eddie Kiesecker is able to free ball it over, handled, and there's the dump. And that's kind of that smooth feel that Will Cornell definitely has. There's that confidence that when he does that front row dump, he does a pretty good job keeping his hands high, and he just kind of throws that one over the shoulder.
Yeah, that one, he was actually off the net by maybe 2 or 3 feet.
Yeah.
So the Tyrants, that's the first dump that he's thrown down on them, and I'd like to see the Tyrants make a little bit of an adjustment defensively for that.
Absolutely. Norman there with a big serve, though, got that point started off right, and even though it popped up for the Tyrants, that's going to put them on the backside. Another big serve there, but Cap with a perfect pass, and going to go to the middle. Burrell tries to find it. A little bit of a timing mismatch there, but Norman really doing what we want to see here. Some big serves, and that's really putting Southern Exposure on the right foot.
Yeah, nice read by Langston on that block as well, but it all starts from the inline. And with these Southern Exposure players getting their serves over the net and giving their block and defense a chance to score points, that's what we're starting to see.
Yeah, and I want to see continued involvement over here by Kaluger, the libero for Southern Exposure. He's starting to extend some of these rallies for him, get some nice digs, controlling free ball passes. And, you know, it's tough, right? Because normally, all things considered, I wouldn't have an issue with that missed serve. It's just hard when that's now the 4th or 5th missed serve of the game. Little unfair to Norman when the rest of the team is doing that to put the pressure on him, because I want him green lit, but he's got to play the status of the match.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Nice swing there. Cecil coming back off the bench as Southern Exposure tries to find the right recipe with their 0-2s right now, but that's a great swing for him and uses Eddie Kiesecker on the right side.
Look, role players, 0-2s are typically role players in men's volleyball, right? They only hit on the left side of the court. They're there to pass, play defense, and get contributions offensively when they get the opportunities.
Set back to Eddie. There's a lot of trust there from the setter, Ryan Kenny, and he knows that Eddie's size, like we said earlier, that physicality is something you're going to rely on.
Yeah, good. That was a good choice. Get Eddie activated in his last opportunity through the front row. He's going to go back and serve now, but that was a good, strong attack by Eddie.
Eddie sends that one long. And that's gonna bring this to a tied-up game at 14s all halfway through. We've got a serving sub coming in. Looks like as far as Southern Exposure is concerned, they just don't want middle serving, and they're continuously bringing in number 13 here. That's Nathan Kamnitz, and he served last match for Kevin Voss, so he's coming back in for Payne Langston here. There's the dump. Voss with a touch. Norman with a swing and a little poke back reset. Eddie Kiesecker going to the outside, and that's going to be a swing by Cap. Cap goes into the triple block, finds the right hand of Voss, if I saw that correctly, and it tools off.
I think it was either the right hand of Voss or the right hand of Denmark. He seems to be a little disgusted with his 3-man block formation there. But Joe Norman really slow to get up here. Not too sure what's going on, but you know, serve sub did his job. He put the ball over the net, had a nicely formed 3-man block. A little bit of a ping pong action there, but give the point to the Tyrants for you know, kind of working through that adversity.
And now it's going to put Cap on the back line. Cap goes for his quick jump, hammers that down the line. It's going to be overpass and ace. Cecil unable to handle that, and you know, I think one of the hard things about Cap's jump serve is the range into the court in which it comes varies anywhere between 23 and 28 feet. So that's a lot when it's coming that fast. It's hard to know where you want to line up to find that on your platform. And he was a little mismatched there with Cecil. So Cap with another big swing, finds his target, finds it true. Norman's going to free ball the ball over. That's going to be taken by Cap in the back row. Quick set to the backside, and Eddie Kiesecker is able to pull Kevin Voss into the net.
Look, this is where you're seeing the Tyrants really stand head and shoulders above Southern Exposure. It's the pressure from the inline. What that translates to are broken plays, okay, from Southern Exposure, guys free-balling it over, and Tyrants having basically a free-for-all to come right back in transition and just unload on their attacking.
You know, and what I love in that look on that offense there is you've got consistent pin action and middles that haven't quite been involved this game, but they're being respected. And out of nowhere, you see Eddie Kiesecker as hitting that bick. Even though he's playing on the right side, like I said, they'll put Cap in the back right, and Eddie's playing middle back. He hits that bick, and it just, once again, when you're trying to find your way to understand what you want to do as a blocker on Southern Exposure, there's just another tool. Open it right up down the middle, and it just keeps you guessing.
Two things that leads to: momentum and emotion. Two things that you want to have on your side of the court throughout this sport and this match. And right now, Southern Exposure doesn't have any of it, and the Tyrants have all of it.
Absolutely. And, you know, we've seen in previous games, Cap and Jake on the outside almost just putting the team single-handedly on their back, and they're still contributing, but not in quite as a dominant fashion. But what we're seeing is Eddie Kiesecker is really coming in, making a big change for the look of this offense on this team.
As have the middles. Burrell and Buffum have made great contributions for the Tyrants. To see how they respond right now, especially for Southern Exposure, before this game gets away from them.
Here's the toss from Cap out of the timeout and finds Cecil. Cecil at least keeps this one alive in the court, but it's a free ball coming back to the Tyrants. They're going back to that bick. There's a triple swing, but it finds a block touch. Going back to Joe Norman. Norman finds, was that over the net even?
I don't know, but that ball was set at about the 12-foot line.
Yeah.
And if you're Joe Norman, you say, set me 4 feet from the net out of the back row and let me fly to the ball.
He can almost hit a front row. He can almost hit a front row set.
He can. If Cornell would set the D like he was setting a right side attack for a front row, it would be a perfect ball.
Drifting slightly off
the
end.
Now he's bringing it farther and farther off, and I don't get it. Technically, he needs to figure out what he's doing wrong to get that ball better.
It was kind of funny yesterday. We heard one of those. That's the 4th ball into Cecil. Cecil is able to handle that one, and Denmark gets a swing, but that's going to go into the deep corner.
Nice swing by Denmark.
It was really funny yesterday. At the end of one of their matches for the Tyrants, Cap was the player of the game, and so Olivia was talking to him saying, you know, what are you looking at on serve? Because you are absolutely crushing that ball. And he said, you know, I pick a point, I look at it, and then I hit the ball hard. And it was one of the most innocent and funny ways to hear someone that crushes serves like that. And now we see Jake chiseling balls off the block of Norman, and you would know better than I would, but that looked like Norman was way too high on that block.
Yeah, that wasn't the strongest, most aggressive block move from Joe Norman. I'd like to see him prepare a little bit stronger, make a more intensive block motion, and he went too high on that one. He needs to get lower and over the net, not expose his arms to be hit.
Low set goes to Voss, tips over the net, swing back outside to Jake, and there's that well-formed block. Voss takes away that angle and drops his hands down in there.
Yeah, Denmark made a nice move on that one. He got over the net and was able to close it down and get that block point. That would have been a little bit of a backbreaker if the Tyrants had scored that in transition.
Yeah, opening that lead up to a 5-point lead would have been tough to come back. Denmark with a big serve. And
I haven't seen him dial it down a notch and just put the ball in play. He's kind of an all-or-nothing guy almost everywhere with his attacking and his serving from the inline. So if the Southern Exposure, want to win this set or at least push this match, they're going to have to figure it out from the inline a little bit more. They've made a good adjustment, but not fully where it needs to be yet.
Little float serve that Kaluger. Wow, there's a heck of a set. It's a set that you don't see too often, but it's your hands going opposite directions. The right hand there of Cornell was actually flipped inside out, and he was able to flick that quickly back. Because that was a really tight pass.
That was a nice play by Will Cornell.
Set's going to go backside to Jake. Jake chops it over. And again, that's understanding geometry. We've talked about this, I think, 3 times this tournament. That set was outside. Jake's going on a scramble play, swinging his arm right to left, not front to back. And there's nowhere that's going to go except for extreme sharp angle, and the entire Southern Exposure defense has shifted way left.
Yeah, I think just discipline on defense is kind of lacking on Southern Exposure side.
That's one of the best sets we've seen to Joe Norman all tournament, and Cap finally finds him though. And right when I see the set, I was really hoping that we were going to see Joe Norman activated there, and Cap shuts that down.
It's hard for Joe Norman. I think he might not know where the set's going to be. I think that one was in a good location, but I think he brought it down a little bit. But give credit to Cap. That was a great block move. He went high, and he deflected the ball deep back into the court. Yep.
Good swing by Jake. That's going to be almost overpassed by Denmark, but Cornell saving it. Ref sees a block touch there, goes back to Norman. Norman goes to tip. And Ian Cap once again showing him, hey, man, you might be Goliath, but I am David. Take your stone back, good sir. That's going to be a substitution coming in here for Joe Norman. We're going to see 12 coming in for 20. So that's going to be Austin Lovett here.
Interesting move here. You take out your biggest guy. Clearly frustrated. He needs to gather himself, take a couple of deep breaths.
You know, right now, we haven't seen any other setters, but I'm looking for another setting sub potentially.
That's what I was going to say too. I don't know who the backup setter is for Southern Exposure, but that's something that's lacking. His overhead setting is not helping. I don't know why you're choosing to go overhead again to the guy that just came in. Clearly is showing he has very little faith in his left side hitter right now.
You know, I think that when I saw him setting their matches day one, they were having a lot of location issues across the net too. So maybe their adjustment's been, you know, minimize the time the ball's in the air and try to go back, but that's not proving to be the answer here.
Set point for the Tyrants.
Big swing down the line. Eddie Kiesecker finds it down the line. Up ref overrules his line judge, says that ball is out of bounds.
Interesting choice.
Ryan Kenny disagrees.
High caliber linesman that's over there. And Tony Chan has refereed a lot of volleyball. Here comes Cap with the pass.
Backside gives Eddie a second chance, and Eddie doesn't miss twice. Really, really impressed with what Eddie's doing here.
Man, I am very impressed as well by the Scrappers, Tyrants. They came out even better and have continued to, you know, just tighten their grip around the necks of Southern Exposure.
Yeah, and the progression we saw here on the match was the Tyrants weren't quite finding the serves as strong as they were, so there was a lot more middle involvement in game one. There was a lot better passing on the side of Southern Exposure, so they were able to involve Voss a bit more. We saw a little bit of Langston in the middle, and that was a lot more Burrell and Buffin being involved. And as their serving increased on the side of the Tyrants, middles have kind of been left out of the game, so we're seeing once again the Tyrants kind of go to blocking style middles. I don't know if the middles actually got a single point there offensively from the Tyrants. None comes to mind.
No, they don't, but they did come up with a couple of blocks.
Absolutely. So they're still contributing massively, and you love to see what those guys are doing. But now we're seeing Eddie dialed in, and Eddie is contributing more than we've seen all tournament long. Love to see that. The discipline from Cap on the service line, finding big blocking touches, single-handedly took Joe Norman out of the game there with 2 big touches in a row.
Right. Yeah.
That's a great adjustment on Tyrants.
If you're Southern Exposure right now, you're in full panic mode.
Yeah.
You have to find a way to fix the leaks in the boat if you want to keep playing. You're down 0-2. You're being outplayed by the Tyrants, a smaller, physically less imposing team, but you're getting beat on all the little things.
Yeah.
You're missing 15 serves through 2 games. That's an improvement. They only missed 5 in that second set versus 10 in the first. But other than that, they weren't able to find the court. They're spraying their passes all over the place.
Yep.
Their setting location really needs to be figured out, or else it's going to be game, set, match, and see you later.
And, you know, honestly, if I'm a coach right now, if I don't normally have as much faith in my second setter to run my offense with the tempo I want to see, right now, I don't care. I want location. If you need to launch high balls to your pins, absolutely that's the change to make. You're not finding your middles as is. So if you're not worried about that, get a new set of hands that's going to be able to set a high hut out to the outside pin and let your guys swing. Denmark needs that ball up there. Find an 0-2 that's going to be able to produce something, even if it's just passing. I don't care if they can't hit a single ball and you run Denmark on a bick every time he's back row. You need to just get something consistent to rely on here.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see that change happen. I think Cornell might be their only option, really. But really, as a team dynamic, Southern Exposure needs to come together, look each other in the eye, and say, listen, we need to figure this out right now. We all need to play better. We're not pointing fingers. This is a team sport, and as a team, we need to come together and play stronger, or else we're going to be done.
Yeah, and it's something you see from the experienced teams that know playing together. When Tyrants makes a mistake, they come together in the middle of the court. When they make a big play, they come together in the middle of the court. And when you look at the body language, it's no matter what, we're a team, we're going through this. Southern Exposure, they tend to kind of scatter. One guy puts his hands up, that's my bad, shaking his head, and it's like, that's okay, you're going to make mistakes. And obviously we're critical over here because we're trying to provide analysis, play-by-play. But in terms of the flow of the game, it's the responsibility of the players to come together, pick each other up, acknowledge mistakes are going to be made. You can't play perfect, but find how to bounce back, have some short-term memory, and play the next point.
Yeah, it's team dynamics. You can see that the Tyrants are into it together, and you can see the Southern Exposure's a little bit more of individual mentalities, you know, sort of an all-star team versus, you know, like 1980 USA hockey.
Yeah,
right?
the homegrown boys that play it together.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see how Southern Exposure responds.
Oh, there it is.
Okay,
New hands.
so they did it. Yeah, they made the setter switch.
So we've seen the serving sub two times here, number 13. That's Nathan Kamnitz, and he's going to be coming in as the setter now. So that's the one adjustment we've seen. Joe Norman got a little breather, time to cool down, comes back on the court. I agree with that severely. You want to activate Joe Norman. He's your way to win this game.
Well, you have to. I mean, you have to. And you need, I would set Joe on the left side and the right side and the back row. And I would run Denmark everywhere. Bix, okay, left side attacking. Again, he's your 0-1, so he's available on the right. Cecila needs to be a role player. He needs to worry about passing first.
Yep.
Don't worry about your offense. And let's get some blocking defense points.
And there it is, you know.
We just see it after every set. The Tyrants continue doing what has produced them points over and over and over again. Reproducibility. Here you go, Jake right out of the gate gets that ball snuck between the blocker and the net for the first point of the match of the set.
Short float, pass by Langston. Set goes up to him, no connection at all. And that's going to be another point for the Tyrants.
Unfortunately, I'm going to question that setting choice when you have Denmark overhead and Joe Norman out front. You choose to set the higher probability of chance with a quick set where it relies on more chemistry and connection, and it's not there.
That serve goes long. Now, earlier today, you and I were saying one of our favorite things, you as a middle blocker, me with just, you know, as a player, I want to see middles get established early. So I get that mentality, but when you're coming in the third, trying to find some momentum here, go with the safe bet.
Yeah, I spread out the offense. Like I said, don't go for the high-risk set. Set your big pin hitters and just get a quick side out. Be efficient.
Eddie Kiesecker throws that ball down the line. That's a great dig, though, on the backside there by Nate. And Kiesecker goes for the swing now. Off-blocker defense played by Cecila. Denmark kind of throws him into a tight ball, but it's handled well. He keeps alive with the tip. Now a bit coming in from Tyrants, dug by Denmark. There's a one-handed tip jump out, and then Jake closes the block well, goes backside to Norman. Norman goes one-on-one against Kiesecker. Kiesecker sets up a little too far inside, and Norman puts that down in the middle of the court.
All right, see a little fire there from the new setter for Southern Exposure, so that's good. Cornell's got the size, but he's not the most fiery, emotional player.
Yeah, I love seeing him willing to step in there and really find that dig.
Good extended rally by Southern Exposure, keeping the ball alive, a couple little scramble plays.
Yeah, Kamnitz definitely some needed energy coming off the bench as the new setter. So we'll see how that starts to unroll. And that's Denmark stepping up big. Finds that deep corner serve, be able to beat Cap there, and that was a nice corner serve there.
Seemed like he dialed it back a little bit. I don't know if that was a little bit of a hybrid or for a jump serve, but good ace nonetheless.
We're going to see his third attempt in this service run now as he goes back, chops that one in. Cap handles it well, goes back set, and Jake swings through. And once again, that's the second time this match that I think we've seen Langston lose track of that ball.
Langston's got to do two things better. He's got to open his eyes when he's blocking. He's got to get his hands over the net.
Yeah.
2 times there throughout the first 6 points of the game that the ball's come between him and the net, and that's not acceptable as a middle blocker. I'm a little critical as a former middle blocker myself.
Yep.
Plenty of pictures of me blocking with my eyes closed too, by the way.
You can deny their existence until the viewers go and find them.
It's no public domain.
That's Matt Prosser, for anyone curious.
Those pictures were all before Google.
It's a standing float serve, popped in there nice and easy. And here's the Tyrants in system. And Eddie Kiesecker says, watch what I can do when you underhand a ball at me. I think that might have been a little too literal when we heard that they were willing to underhand serves in, because that was about what that was right there.
Oh my gosh, I certainly hope that there's something better that Langston can do from the inline than that.
Yeah.
We've seen him go twice under the net. That was basically a 12-year-old serve. Standing float that almost hit the ceiling.
There's that same off the net set, and we see dug by the Tyrants, and a quick two-handed tries to set the ball down, but Southern Exposure saying discipline there, and Norman did not want to chase that ball to the pin. So.
Questionable choice on that one, but you know, he's looking for the high hands. But I hadn't seen the set attack in a while, but now that it's out, hopefully we don't see it again.
Then again, he is a setter, so I guess that makes some sense.
Not right now. He's an outside hitter. He should be hitting the ball.
Jump serve by Norman. Ball goes long.
Good attempt. I mean, it was close. You know, it's better than going into the net.
Yep. Make them make a decision back there, and that's kind of what we were talking about earlier. When you serve in the tape, there's no chance that even someone sticks an arm out there. So
right.
We're going to see a jump serve here from Eddie Kiesecker. He rolls that into the middle. John Kluger with a good pass, and Vaz tries to take a big swing, but he swings down and gets a block touch against him, picked up in the back row. And Buffum shows how to swing deep. Well, that's not even that deep. That was about a 12-foot line banger there.
That was a good retaliation from Buffman. You know, Vaz, again, he jumped so high. Hit the ball deep to the corner, just drive it deep, score the point. Don't have to turn it down so hard because you're hitting the ball directly into Buffum's hands. Yeah,
and there, you know, that's a great double block move in transition there. They were able to get four hands up there, so good move by the Tyrants. Goes to the Bick. That's a great Bick set. Eddie Kiesecker backpedaling. Oh, that was that was Eddie. Okay, a one-handed tip up, and the setter fakes a swing, gets a tip over the top with Vaz. Set by Alu. Goes to the backside, Cap chops it down the line, dug by Norman. That's Kluger with set to the back row. Denmark takes a swing into a triple block. That's a one-handed slap dive, and unable to come up with that one for Ryan Alu in the back row there for the Tyrants.
I like the effort by Alu there. I think he should have gone with his left hand and brought it back to the court, maybe give it a little stab as opposed to the right hand back flipper. But, you know, nice rally either way. Good scramble plays. Like to see a little more connection.
I love that Bick run, though. That looked good from Denmark.
Yeah. Should be seeing more of that.
Cap with a big swing, little one-handed punch dig there. Norman free balls the ball over. Denmark with an absolutely impressive and overpowering one-handed, I think that was his left hand to the net.
Yeah. I thought I saw a net, but apparently the guys in blue did not. So
Buffum unable to come away with that one on the overpass. Little breakdown there. Cap's going to launch a ball cross court and set deep by Kiesecker, sorry. And that's going to be another Bick attack. Doesn't quite find anything. And inside set, Cap goes to the angle, dug there by Kluger. We got a back set coming. Joe Norman tries to get his, and Buffum says, not today. He's there in that angle. Nice set block by Cap. Brings that in a little bit more. There's the discipline block I've been talking about. Not flying by, gets set, closes that seam. Buffum with a huge move. Gets his hands on that ball.
Yeah, good discipline block right there. I'd like to see Kaminsky, Kamnitz, excuse me, maybe go out front to Denmark through the front row.
Yeah. Big swing. Ciesla unable to handle it, and free ball coming from Denmark. Goes into Cap. Cap, good ball to the outside. Dan takes a chop down the line. Uses the outside hand to Kamnitz there, and Norman unable to control that ball. As we take a 2-point lead here for the Tyrants, that's going to be a timeout, or 1-point lead, sorry, that's going to be a television timeout here.
So, Nick, still I'm seeing the Tyrants maintaining the momentum, and they're absolutely dominating in the emotional part of this match. Southern Exposure just playing flat, no emotion whatsoever. Kamnitz comes in off the bench. He's definitely got a little bit more fire than Cornell. He's trying to pick his guys up.
Yep.
I hope it's just not too little too late. But, you know, it's up to the hitters to respond as well. You know, Kamnitz can come out. He can only do so much. He's a setter.
Sure.
You know, put up some good hittable balls. Find the right guys. Feed your guys that are going to score your points for you, because you're going to need them right now, and you got to start and establish that connection.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, something that I love playing with good team leaders, and a good team leader to me, obviously, Will Cornell is the answer as the starting setter. Most people look to their setter as a guy that touches every ball. But now that he's on the bench, what I want to challenge guys like that, now you're a role player. Your job is make sure that the bench is loud, that your guys see what they need to. You're talking to Kamnitz between any timeout like this. He knows what you should, or, you know, you make sure he knows what to be running.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we need to see someone like Denmark on the court really be challenged to bring his players together and keep them battling. Because right now, the emotional state of how these teams look does not match the score. Tyrants look like they have about a 5-point lead, and this is a 1-point game.
It's a black and white difference on the emotional scale here, okay? Clearly in the Tyrants' favor. You're right. Cornell should be communicating to Kamnitz. There should be information coming off the bench to the players that are on the court about what they're seeing, what the Tyrants are doing block and defense-wise, what offense is working. And unfortunately, I don't necessarily see that. I see Cornell over there. He's chewing on his gum. He's kind of hanging out. He's standing in the back of the pack. And, you know, I don't know how involved or invested he really is in this match right now.
Yeah, and, you know, that's where I've made my living as a player. I've never been your go-to big swing, so I'm the guy that find how the rest of your teammates are going to be successful, support that, enable that, be the loud one on the bench, activate your bench, make sure they're dialed into the game so that if one of your big role players on the bench that's going to be coming in, they're ready to go. They know exactly what their job is so that when they come on, they're not just cold physically, but they're mentally hot, ready to attack what they've been talking about on the bench.
Let me tell you what, Nick, coaches love that player. They
Absolutely.
want that player on their team. They want 12 of them.
That's a big swing from Cap, and there's going to be a tight ball, and Jake unable to grab it, but good step off by Buffum. Set goes outside, Denmark finds a swing, dug up in the back row, a little help from the libero, but Jake's going to have to control this ball. Denmark takes the off-ball block. That's going to be an offset, and that's going to get called. A little bit of miscommunication there, and
now Denmark's taking the blame for not putting up a very
good pass.
A perfect pass. That should have been a perfect pass.
That's on his hands.
And it wasn't, and that resulted in Kamnitz not being in the right position to set that ball.
Off the tape there, John Kluger handles that well, launched out to Denmark. That's the set you've been asking to see for I don't know how long.
Yeah.
Launch that to the outside, give him a nice tempo set, high, let Denmark go up, be physical and aggressive, and easy point.
Kamnitz must have looked at his matchups and realized that the Tyrant setter was blocking right front out there, and that's a clear advantage for Denmark, and it should be.
And there you said it earlier, keep Boz on the ground until he can show that you can do anything else, and he's able to get a dig there, or a serve into the court there, and now we've got Denmark tries to chip it down the line, and he's able to beat the hands there of Ryan Kenny.
Look, Southern Exposure is manufacturing points, and it is directly attributed to them putting the ball in play from the service line.
Yep.
Look, it might not be pretty, but they're scoring points.
Absolutely, and now we've got a pass that's going to go outside. Dan's going to go for the line, and honestly, I'm okay with that because there was a clear decision made to leave the line, make him hit it. We got a good block taking away angle that Dan's been hitting all game. And there was a lot of line, a disciplined hitter like Dan can hit that, but they made him do it.
I'd like to see maybe a little block scheming and see maybe Kamnitz block the middle a little bit and get a bigger block on the outside in that situation.
Sure. Another set outside too far and doesn't go over the net. Denmark, that's a tough set for him to handle with a big swing, but he is absolutely capable of keeping that ball alive.
Yeah, set location maybe could have been a little bit better, but Denmark can make a better choice. Just put that back to the corner.
Yep. Doesn't
have to thread the needle so much. Left-handed, open-hand tip.
There's a good float serve by Buffum. Cecil takes it in the middle of the court, and there's another one of those front to net sets, and Joe Norman with some clear aggravation on his face as he's unable to find the court with that one.
Unfortunately, the Southern Exposure they're missing continuity on their side out and their rhythm. They just have no side out rhythm. Their sets are all over the place, the location. The contact that they're making with the ball on the attempt is just inconsistent as well.
Yeah, and that's going to be a float back here for Buffum and
the out of rotation.
Out of rotation. And you know, I don't want to be a negative. I don't want to be harping on any one team, but I think where my aggravation comes in is when the physical side of your team starts to falter, you need something else to work, and that's really the experienced captains and guys like that on your team that need to step up and be emotional leaders. We're seeing that hole here. I don't see what they're doing to right this ship.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's a little bit, it's snowballing. You can kind of feel it, that the Tyrants are riding the momentum and the wheels are falling off a little bit of maybe Southern Exposure.
Cap with the delayed block coming up, and he helped find something there, and that's going to be a quick back set to Burrell. Some people looking for a net, but that was just the equipment being hit from what I saw on the outside.
Yeah, Denmark just ran into the pole. That's totally legal. There was no net violation over there. So, but yeah, I mean, Southern Exposure has got to find something fast. We're almost halfway through this third set, and they're staring at a 3-0 beatdown in the face unless they can figure something out right now.
Handled well by Cap, short in the middle of the court, goes to the outside, and that's Jake hammering a ball. John Kluger with a great touch. Denmark finds a big back set. That's a great looking set there from Denmark to find it, but Cecil unable to control it and swings wide.
Yeah, unfortunately, Cecil maybe trying to do a little too much with that. Get your feet to the ball, put a nice spot on it, put it in the corner. Don't overdo it, and then give yourself a chance to dig a ball in defense.
There's a float coming in from the setter here for the Tyrants. Denmark goes wide, and that's going to be a one option set.
Unfortunately, I think the wheels have started to completely fall off Southern Exposure's. bus here.
And this morning when we were watching Charles Belvin for Blaze play, we were talking about how a player like that keeps his confidence high. Sometimes, he didn't have many errors, but when he did, it was about how does the setter reactivate him, find that confidence, and make sure that he knows he's good to keep swinging with the green light. And right now, Denmark, as a side comment or viewer, I trust him still. All tournament long, he's shown that he's a guy to be trusted. And right now, whether it's his attitude or the way that the team is kind of around him, it feels like he doesn't have the confidence to take a swing. We've seen him now try to tip about 3 or 4 balls in a row. He's got to be able to swing. And if you're getting blocked, that's okay. But find a swing into the court.
Yeah, look, right now it's 15-10 in the third set. Southern Exposure's down by 5. They have to find some kind of formula that's going to get them back into this game and get a couple quick points.
Yep.
If I'm the coach for Southern Exposure, I'm going to make a substitution, and I'm going to put Cornell back into set.
I agree with that.
His size is going to play a role. He can be offensively minded through the front row, maybe manufacture a dump here and there, given a chance. I think the location is going to be a little bit of an upgrade from Kamnitz, although Kamnitz has done a nice job. He's talking right now to his team, but I think they need to make a change right now that's going to result in at least getting to a deuce game in this third set.
And Kamnitz, when you watch the team interact off the court, Kamnitz is still a guy that's very dialed in with his team, and they do respect him. And I think, like I said, I want to see an emotional leader, and when a guy like him comes in, he makes a couple defensive stops right away. That's what the team needs.
We've been asking for an emotional leader. He's clearly that guy, but ability too is important.
Hey,
and at this point,
that's a big block, well formed there. They knew exactly where that ball was going. They've identified Denmark as the go-to over on the side of the Tyrants. Sounds like the coach might have said, hey, it's probably going backside. Be ready for that. That's a great close block there by Burrell. And we're going to see a substitution change here. Hubbard goes ahead and grabs Denmark. And not sure that Denmark agrees with that substitution, but I can tell you from the sideline, I don't disagree with it.
Especially not when it's one side away from Denmark being your best server getting to the end line. Kamnitz gets called for out of rotation.
And if I'm not mistaken, is it on hand contact with the serve, or is it on it crossing the net? It's on hand contact.
It's on hand contact, yeah.
So his disagreement there is that the ball has been served, but that's going to be a decent pass from Ciesla. Goes outside to Norman. High swing, picked up in the back row by the Tyrants. It's going to be set by the libero, a little tight, and Eddie Kiesecker is able to use the high hand and tip it wide, swipe off the side. We're seeing a yellow card awarded here to the coach for Southern Exposure, and he's still arguing.
Not too sure what the argument is about or what in regards to
I think it was the libero handset came a little bit deep from the chest, and they didn't like that look.
Yeah, I understood. So Tyrants still clearly with the emotional lead right now and all the momentum in the world.
Yep. And that's going to be Norman free balling a ball over. Perfect pass. Tyrants back in system. Burrell misses wide there. That looked like it hit off his wrist maybe.
Yeah, but you know what? I didn't see a single Southern Exposure player with their hands up ready to block either. So they got away with one there. And if I'm them, I'm putting Denmark back in right now. I'm not going to let too many more points go through this match without having your best outside hitter on the bench. Good serve though.
An attempt to go back to Burrell, and there we see a really disciplined block from Norman. He's able to identify that they're on that 31 gap, so he's on double blocking duty there. If it goes all the way out, he's got to take care of Eddie Kiesecker there, but since it goes short to the middle, he steps in and helps out with Burrell.
Serving.
Well handled. That's going to go back to Jake, and once again shows that ability to take the line and just chops it inside out, goes thumb down, and goes down the line.
Right now the Tyrants feel like they can't do anything wrong.
Nope.
I mean, look at the scoreboard. It's 19-12. It's game 3. You have a 2-0 lead. You have all the confidence in the world that you're going to win this match in 3 games.
And, I think other teams that are watching, you need to be absolutely a lot more. That's 4 touches. You need to be a lot more afraid of the Tyrants right now, because early on we were impressed by the outsides and their ability to find some points between Jake and Cap. But right now, we're seeing Eddie Kiesecker being an absolute monster on the right side. We're seeing Burrell put in work. Buffum is a monster blocker.
And sleeper team for sure.
Yeah, and they're continuing to evolve and find a team identity as this goes on. Not to mention that Ryan Kenny runs a great offense. And number 5 here, Ryan Alley, might be one of the best liberos in this tournament.
Yeah, they're finding a way to win.
Yeah.
I mean, given their personnel, they're finding a way to put a team together, play as a unit, and find a way to win, and it's paying off.
It really speaks to the fact that this is part of Team Freedom. When you, in the player set, you really see a lot of that same similarity we saw from Freedom in that last set against Blaze, where they play as a unit, and you don't beat one player, you have to beat the team.
Yeah, you absolutely have to beat the entire team, where you see a lot of maybe individuals on the Southern Exposure side. So we're going to get a quick substitution here, serving sub.
That's going to be number 2 coming into the game, and that there is Eddie Mushikian. He was, I believe, the other starting 0-2 earlier in the tournament, but he's coming in as a sub now, and that's going back, and that's a great block. Cisla able to kind of cut it short, take away the angle, and Kevin Voss gets out.
I mean, they needed that. Still, they're down by 6 points. Tyrants are at 20. Nice substitution. He made his serve. I'd like to see maybe a little bit more pressure here, but let's not complain. I mean, the ball was in the court, and we got a block out of it.
We did see the Tyrants blow a 7-point lead against the Stingers earlier this tournament. They kind of let off the gas pedal. So definitely want to see if they've kind of learned their lesson, find a way to finish this out here. That's a good side out. And
that was a big swing by Burrell for sure. It was nice to see him get another shot. How does Southern Exposure respond? Let's see.
Well, there's an easy response.
I mean, that's the easiest point that they have scored in this game.
Probably.
And it helps that they didn't have to do anything to score that point. So Joe Norman back now. Goes to the end line. He's going to jump serve. I sure hope he puts his first one in and kind of creates some sort of sense of urgency.
Yep. Once again, we've talked about that. The big thing as a server, serving is the only time in the game when you have complete control over what's going to happen. There's nothing outside of your toss and your swing and your decision-making that affects that play. As a hitter, you're kind of at the will of how you're passing, your setting, and all that. And that's where the serving really needs to be more disciplined.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad error, just blasting it into the net like we were talking about in game 1. We hadn't seen it until now, again, but unfortunately, that was the worst time to do it. It's 22-15 Tyrants.
Now we've got a serving sub for the Tyrants, and the second setter, Mitch, is going to come in. That's a huge block for Buffum. Goes high, goes up with Vaz and shuts him down. There was a little help, I believe, from Cap. It didn't really end up mattering there, but takes away that little cutback, so kind of limits some options there from Vaz. Cap jumps to the setter, a big swing to the outside, and Jake with a touch in the back row. But that's a great-looking swing from Cisla.
Where has that been? Where has that swing been since the beginning of this match? You choose to swing like that at 23-16. Comes Denmark back in. Nice to see this substitution going.
So they were looking for a little ice, try to find something as a defensive stop back row with Hubbard there. And as he gets back to the front row, they see that maybe Denmark's the answer here. And again, you've got a big outside presence. Give him that same set. Let's see that same swing that we just saw from Cisla.
Yep.
Ball goes outside. And Tool off the block.
Great isolation there.
Yep.
Great way to realize who the hitter-blocker matchup was, and we have match point.
Yep.
Nick, I'm going to say it in the words of the great Chick Hearn. The Jello's jiggling.
That it is. Waiter check, please. Cap on the back line is all but a exclamation point on this match. That's a great serve receive by Denmark. Ball goes back. Vaz tries to hit a 5-ball. That one-handed dig by Cap. That's going to go back to the outside there, and Denmark swings. Picked up by Buffum. That's going to be an over. That's not called, but Dan. Wow, number 9 with a big chop down the line, and then dug by Cap. Perfect ball, middle in transition, swings, and that's it. That's the Tyrants scrapping.
Wow.
You saw an over on that too, right?
I did see an over. The ref missed that one, but that's okay because the Tyrants still just outplayed Southern Exposure in every facet of that match. And you know what? Impressive. Congrats to them and kudos to the Tyrants. They deserve that win.
Absolutely. That is well earned. Again, no handshakes here. Everyone's acknowledging each other through the net. A couple guys exchanging formalities because there's a lot of good friends that between these two teams. And that's going to take us to the end of those the third place, fourth place challenge sets here. So we've got our first seeds coming out of this. So the 2-3 competition that we're going to see this evening for the remaining 2 matches, we're going to have up next is the Ontario Matadors taking on, that's going to be Team Freedom. And then on the other side, tonight, we're going to see the Tyrants squaring off against the Ramblers. So those should be some solid matches, definite team identities that we're going to see develop. So definitely excited. But I've got to say, the Tennessee Tyrants have been an absolute pleasure to watch throughout this event.
Yeah, their emotion and the way their fire that they play with is infectious with their own team, and it has caught every team that they've played off guard.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at that lineup and you see the players of Southern Exposure. We touched on it early on in the match. Their physicality is intimidating. But you know what? The Tyrants, they didn't back down. They stepped up to the plate and they knocked out a home run grand slam, and they knocked one of the bigger physical teams out of this tournament.
Yeah, and I'm going to be really interested, obviously, as a Ramblers player. I'm a little selfish in saying this, but I'm curious to see our matchup against them this afternoon, because once again, we bring a really large offensive front line, and so it's going to be interesting to see how those two teams, we've defined ourselves as a team that doesn't have a large outside, so we play that scrappy defense. Not quite as well as those guys, I would say, but we're here to extend rallies. Got a big right side, some big middles, so that's going to be a big matchup. So we'll see Olivia a little bit more with an interview on the sideline.
Thanks, Nick. Ryan, what a balanced offense from your squad today. Yesterday, the outsides really established themselves. Today, we saw the opposites and the middles. How important is it to have all of those options?
Yeah, incredibly important. I personally love to set my middles, so I knew once I got them going early on, that would open up the pins for us, and it worked just like we planned. Yeah.
You and I spoke earlier this week. You haven't played with this team, but it does not look like that. You guys are firing on all cylinders. Where are you manufacturing that energy?
Yeah, I've played with a couple of guys, but not in any sort of substantive tournament. But we're just a fun group of guys. We all are getting along, and we're just having a lot of fun. And I think that's what gives us the edge over really good teams, is that I think we're having more fun than them.
Yeah, I talk about fun. The talk around the town is that you guys are scrappy. You're so fun to watch. Do you embrace that identity?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be known as the team that's just tall, not too loud. Like we want to keep people guessing, and make sure that then when they play us, they don't know what to expect.
Right now, this was a win-or-go-home situation. You're alive. What do you need to do in the next match that's going to keep you in this weekend?
Yeah, so our service pressure has to stay at the top. I mean, Ian Cap has been crushing it from the line. When we get going on the service line, we're a great transition team. So if we serve and pass the ball well, I think we can hang with anyone here.
Well, congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Nick, back to you.
Thanks so much. And, we talked so much about the effectiveness of those hitters, and I don't think we actually did talk about Ryan Kenny enough. He's really been a rock for this team. He knows exactly not just how to deliver a good set, but he knows where to go with it. He's making smart set selections. There was no sets that really you and I saw that we were scratching our head going, why are you going there?
No, he's a very aware, situationally aware setter. He's a very high volleyball IQ. You can hear it from when he talks. You can see it on his court presence. He is the floor captain. He's the leader of his team. He knows where his hammers are, and he knows how to feed and keep the middles involved in the match as well.
Yeah, and you say knowing where your hammers are, man, a match like that, they're everywhere you can put a ball in the air. But that's going to do it for us, guys. We've got a match coming up at 4 o'clock local time, so that's in just over an hour and a half, I believe. And that's going to be the Ontario Matadors taking on Team Freedom here in the third match of the day. So stick around and join us then. Thanks so much.